Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today, we return to the story of Too Deep and James, two souls who once walked through hardship, now building their dreams from the quiet soil of a countryside rebirth. After months of back-breaking work, laughter, and late nights spent sketching plans by candlelight, they are finally ready to expand their small company, DJ Agriculture Workshop. It's not just a business. It's a promise to create jobs for local villagers, to turn forgotten land into fields of new life, and to prove that hope can be planted, even in the most barren ground. But on the very morning that marks their new beginning, a letter arrives, and with it, a storm that could undo everything they've built. The sun had barely risen when James stepped outside, a folder clutched under his arm, the final paperwork for their new warehouse. Every detail had been planned. The renovation design, the import schedule, the hiring list, even the banner they would hang on opening day. To James, this wasn't just an expansion. It was a declaration that he had finally escaped his father's shadow. Then his phone rang. Mr. James, the warehouse owner began, voice hesitant, "I'm sorry, but I can't rent it to you anymore." James froze mid-step. "What do you mean? We agreed yesterday. I'm on my way to sign." There was another offer. "They're paying double." I already agreed." The line went dead. James stood motionless, the morning's peace collapsing into silence. The plans in his hands suddenly felt heavier than bricks. From the porch, Too Deep appeared, cheerful at first, until she saw his face. "You haven't left yet?" "The car's waiting." She stopped. "James, what happened?" He handed her the phone. The owner backed out. "Someone offered twice the price." She frowned. "That doesn't make sense. The draft contract came just last night." "I know," he said quietly, a bitter smile flickering. "It's not about money. Someone's interfering." Too Deep touched his hand. "Don't assume yet. Maybe it's coincidence." But even she couldn't hide the unease in her eyes. For weeks, little things had gone wrong. Shipment delays, misprinted designs, paperwork mysteriously misplaced. Now this. James straightened, the edge returning to his voice. "I'll find out who's behind this." He turned back to his desk, rifling through documents. Then he noticed a sticky note pinned to the corner of a folder. In uneven handwriting, "Don't trust the man who introduced this warehouse. He's not on your side." James's pulse quickened. He thought of Dong, the broker who'd handled their deal. The nervous glances, the rushed tone last night. Too Deep's whisper broke the silence. "James, do you think someone's been watching us?" He didn't answer. His gaze drifted toward the road outside. The truck carrying their supplies waited at the gate, driver confused, unaware that the ground beneath their dream had just shifted. "If someone wants to play dirty," James finally said, voice steady, "they'll regret it." And with that, he set out to find the truth. That afternoon, the sky turned amber as James parked outside a small cafe tucked between old shop fronts. It was the same cafe where, years ago, he and a friend had planned their first venture, back before wealth, family, and betrayal had blurred the line between ambition and greed. Inside, the smell of roasted beans and old wood wrapped around him like memory. In the corner sat Wah, his longtime friend, once a real estate agent, now someone who seemed to know everything that moved in town. "James," Wah began, lowering his voice, "I think you should know, your father's the one behind this." James stiffened. "My father?" Wah nodded. "He's been buying every warehouse in the area you're scouting." "Said he'll do whatever it takes to bring you back." James's breath caught. In his mind flashed the image of a man in a tailored suit, with the same eyes, cold, calculating, the father who'd once told him. "You were born to inherit, not to start from nothing." He had walked away years ago, believing distance could free him. But the past had followed. "Thank you, Wah," he said finally, rising. "I understand." As he stepped out into the fading sunlight, the world felt strangely distant, the golden light warm on his skin, yet unable to touch the heaviness in his chest. When he returned home, the air smelled of damp earth and roses. Too Deep was watering flowers on the porch, humming softly. She looked up. "You didn't sign the contract, did you?" He forced a smile. "It's fine." "I'll find something better." She didn't question him. Instead, she placed her hand on his arm, eyes steady. "As long as you don't give up, we'll be fine." He looked at her, the woman who had turned his solitude into purpose. He wanted to tell her everything, that it was his own father sabotaging them. But he couldn't. Not yet. That night, under the silver wash of moonlight, James sat alone at his desk. Blueprints scattered across the floor, papers fluttering like restless thoughts. In the corner, the name DJ Agriculture glowed under the lamp, their initials, their dream. He glanced out the window toward the dark horizon. Somewhere out there, his father sat in a glass office, surrounded by power. But here, in this modest house, James realized what true strength was, the kind built from faith, not fear. Near midnight, the road to his mother's house was shrouded in mist. Streetlights cast trembling reflections on wet pavement as he drove slowly toward the place he hadn't visited in years. Her house stood quiet beneath tall palm trees, its porch light glowing faintly. Through the window, he saw her, sitting exactly as he remembered, a soft figure waiting in the stillness. I already know, she said the moment he stepped inside. Your father interfered again, didn't he? James didn't answer. The silence said enough. He still thinks you're just rebelling, she continued gently. But he's wrong. You left not out of pride, but because you wanted to live with integrity. He bowed his head. Please, don't get involved. I'll handle it. But she only smiled, that quiet, fearless smile that had guided him through every storm. No, my son, she said, her hand resting firmly on his shoulder. This time, I will. She turned, walked to the phone, and dialed. When his father's voice came on the line, the air itself seemed to hold its breath. If you keep standing in James's way, she said, her tone calm but sharp as steel, I'll file for divorce tomorrow. I don't need your money. I only need my son to live the life he chooses. Silence. Then, for the first time, the man who had controlled everything simply said, all right. I understand. When she hung up, her hands trembled, but her eyes shone with quiet triumph. James stood speechless at the doorway. She smiled softly. The most important thing, she said, is that you keep walking, even if you walk alone. The next morning, sunlight filtered gently through the curtains. James sat at his desk, coffee gone cold, staring at the phone when it rang again. It was the warehouse owner. His voice was suddenly cheerful. Mr. James, I wanted to apologize. The other buyer cancelled. If you're still interested, we can sign today. James closed his eyes briefly, a small, knowing smile forming. Of course, he replied. He didn't need to ask what had changed. He already knew whose quiet strength had shifted the tide. By noon, the contract was signed. Smooth, quick, effortless, as if the universe itself had exhaled in relief. Later that day, he returned to his mother's house. She was watering plants beneath the bougainvillea, sunlight spilling over her hair. Without a word, he placed the signed contract beside her. She looked at him, her eyes soft but proud. See, she said, when you stand your ground, even the world steps back. He smiled, not needing to reply. The weight on his shoulders had lifted. That evening, laughter returned to the little house. NHI came running, clutching a crayon drawing. Daddy, I drew our warehouse. James knelt, taking the picture. A red-roofed building surrounded by green fields, the words DJ Farm written in wobbly letters. That's perfect, he said softly. This is where our dreams will grow. Too Deep sat beside them, her smile radiant, her eyes filled with quiet joy. Outside, the night wind carried the scent of grapefruit blossoms. The moon rose slowly above the bamboo grove, and for the first time in many nights, James felt at peace. Because now he knew, the real victory wasn't in contracts or land, but in the love that had stood beside him when everything else fell apart. The light in their small house glowed long into the night, the flame of a new beginning, steady and golden, strong enough to guide them through whatever storm might come next.